we're taking her down to the station. This is the second thing. She's
Do I look sexy?
Mm-hmm.
Don't lie to me. So to prep. We're not going to be needing this anymore. I'm just getting rid of my eyebrow because it's really just going to maybe get in the way. For those of you who have eyebrows that are not invisible, you can simply leave them as they are and cover them up in latex and it should be just fine. Then I'm coating my eyebrows and the hair around the area that we're going to be working in Vaseline, because if latex gets in your hair, it will pull and it will hurt like heck. Now I'm going to show you the first of 4 methods we can use to create burns using latex. The very first one being just using latex on top of itself. So cover your face or the area that you're working in latex. Wait for that layer to dry and then you're going to put another layer on top of that. Repeat this several times. I think I did this about 4 or 5 times, but it's really up to you how thick you'd like the latex to be. And then once those layers are dry, you can use your fingers or any sharp objects you find lying around to start picking pieces open. Now I'm going to show you how to use latex and cotton to create a burn. Set down a layer of latex, and then we're going to stick thin pieces of cotton that are just ripped apart from regular cotton balls. We're going to stick those right on top of the latex, and then we're going to cover the cotton in latex. Then you want to find the sweet spot where it's still kind of wet, but it's not soaked and it's not dripping and it's getting kind of tacky because the latex is setting. Once it gets into that stage, then you can start moving it around, pick at it, peel it, rip it open, make it gross. Next method is probably my favorite method for burns, using ground coffee beans. The coffee, it's very similar to the cotton. You're going to lay down a layer of latex that's wet, and then you're going to just start sprinkling ground coffee beans onto your face, onto the wet latex that you just laid down. Some people like to mix their ground coffees in latex first and then put it on their face. I personally don't like that as much because I find that it gets too thick and goopy and it dries too fast. So I like adding my coffee onto my latex and then I cover the coffee in more latex. Then you're going to wait again for about a minute or 2 until it's in that tacky stage. And once it is, you can start pulling it open. And then finally using paper to create a burn texture. Same basic thing, lay down a layer of latex, and then you're going to rip up pieces of tissue paper. You can use like toilet paper for this or paper towels, but I find that tissue paper works the best, at least for me. You want to rip up the edges of the tissue paper so that they're not straight, and then you're just going to start laying that down wherever you want, and you don't want to lay it down flat because you want there to be ripples in the paper and you want there to be some texture, and then you're going to cover that in latex. And again, once that dries a little bit after about a minute, you can start moving it around, you can start picking holes in it. You get the idea by now, I think, right? Lastly, I'm putting a piece of tissue paper over my eyes so that it looks like my eye socket is drooping down and melting. So it's time to paint. The first thing that I do is I start filling in all of the holes that I pulled open with a dark brown color. This is an aqua color by Krylon. After that, I use the same color to drag from the outside edges of our latex, and I thin that out using my fingers or more water or a sponge or a brush, and I do this throughout the entire edge of the latex. Then taking the Skin Illustrator Zombie palette and some 99% alcohol, I dip my fluffy brush in between the two of them, and I use the colors red, purple, brown, and black. And the first thing that I really do is I just cover the entire thing in a red. You don't want to keep it really even and uniform, you want to make it splotchy, so it's okay if some areas are darker than others. I will take 99% alcohol and I'll use it to thin out edges of the paint to try to give it a more splotchy look. Then I'm taking darker paints, the browns, the purples, the blacks, to fill in the crevices, to make the burn look deeper. Then I'm taking red cream paint by Ben Nye because I don't want to use the Skin Illustrator on my eye since you activate it with alcohol and that ish stings. I'm also using that red cream paint to go over some parts of the coffee burn and the cotton burn because it makes it a little extra bright. After that, I'm taking white cream paint by Makeup Forever and I'm just creating the illusion of a droopy, sagging eye. And then we're going to put lube on her face. You heard me. If you've ever had really bad sunburn, you know that when it peels off, it has a lot of moisture behind it, ironically enough. Then we're gonna grab some scab blood. Shouldn't have put lube on my hands before I tried to open this. Once we get that open, I just stick some in the corners of my mouth and in my nose. You don't need a lot of blood for this look because, I mean, it's really kind of overkill. No pun intended. And those are 4 different ways to do latex burns using just latex, cotton, ground coffee, and tissue paper. I hope you learned something. Let's peel the things, because if it's bad, we might have to cut. Oh, the baby hairs, man. I mean, shoot! This is not a tutorial on how to remove this. You should never do this to yourself. I do it for you guys, for the lols. I can't. No. Oh, yes. It's really pretty on this side. It's like watercolor barf.